All right, everybody. Well, good Friday morning to everyone. And this is going to close out our second week of being in the online universe. We are going to be looking at this morning, kind of building on some of the concepts that we started on regarding the world of urbanization and a more urbanized landscape globally and what that looks like. And today we're going to be talking specifically about what we call megacities and metacities, and also discussing the idea of what a world city is as well, which is kind of an entirely different concept. In the process of globalization, cities are taking over in ways that we barely understand still. When you were looking at economic data earlier in this unit on a global scale, when you were looking at GDP, GNI per capita at PPP, and those economic data pieces, those economic data pieces were gathered and disseminated by states, and you looked at them by states, right? When you looked at GDP figures, you were looking at the GDP of Brazil, right, and of Angola and of India, right? But what's interesting is that many of the most important processes that occur economically in the world actually happen among and between cities, not states as a whole. Which kind of masks the integral role that cities play in globalization. The stats that you see on Brazil, for example, are largely in so many ways as a result of cities like Rio and Sao Paulo. And that kind of gets masked in that data. And so that's why the topic of world cities is an important one. A world city is a city that functions at a global scale, and it functions as the service center or as a service center of the world economy. Basically, what you can look at a world city as is as a node in globalization. And as a node, or as a centerpiece, a world city is connected to other world cities. And the forces shaping globalization pulse across these connections and throughout cities around the world. World cities especially play an important role in business because world cities are centers of financial institutions. They are centers of headquarters of large corporations, and they're centers of major law offices and accounting firms and other professional services. Yeah. Now, if you're looking at a list of world cities, you'll notice that most lists of world cities provide actually a hierarchy of the most important nodes. The most important of your world cities, the ones that really make the world go round, are known as your alpha cities. And then the next important are your beta cities, and then your gamma cities, right? And if you take a look at the screen right now, you'll notice what some of those cities are, right? If you're talking about alpha cities, I mean, some of your most important alphas, right? Of course, are going to be New York, London, and Tokyo, right? And also Paris, right? And also Milan, and also Tokyo, and Hong Kong, and Singapore, and in the United States, in addition to New York, also LA and Chicago, right? You'll also notice beta cities and gamma cities. This is a little bit of an older map. The data is constantly in flux on this one. But if we were to look at a current list, excusez-moi, let me try that again. If we're to look at a current list of alpha and beta and gamma cities, kind of move that here a little bit so you can see. Let me see here. Does this work better? Some cities being cut off here. All right, that's the best I can do. It's Screencast-O-Matic. But when you're looking at alpha and beta and gamma cities, what you'll notice actually on this chart here, this is taken from Wikipedia, which is taken from an annual report that we get every year on world cities. You'll notice that alpha cities are also subdivided. Alpha plus plus, alpha minus. And so you'll notice here then that London and New York City are actually the two most important cities in the world financially, right? As alpha plus plus cities, these two cities are really making the world go round. In addition to your Beijing's and your Hong Kong, Shanghai, Sydney, Tokyo, Singapore, Paris, Dubai, just underneath them as alpha plus, and then you get the idea. There's some cities that are cut off there on the alpha end, right? So you're looking at Toronto here, Warsaw, Zurich, Vienna, and Washington D.C. are alpha minus cities. Atlanta is a beta plus, so that's not too shabby. These are cities that link kind of moderate economic regions to the world economy. Your beta cities, and then your gamma cities. There are many of them as well. Anyway, so you get the basic idea, right? Alpha cities have a global capacity to provide services in the world economy and essentially make the world go round. Yeah. World cities as a whole, then, are cities that aren't necessarily the biggest cities in the world, although they are quite large, and some of them are the largest cities in the world. But more importantly, these are cities that are important to kind of the overall world economy and development landscape. Now, according to the United Nations, 60% of the world's population will be living in urban areas in the next decade. 60%. And although more developed countries are more urbanized than LDCs, we talked about this yesterday, urbanization is increasing at a higher rate in LDCs. And we talked about this yesterday as well. And so this high rate of growth has resulted in the creation of what are called megacities. So what is a megacity? A megacity is when a city has a large population, but that population has to be 10 million or more, a vast territorial extent, rapid in-migration, usually strained and inadequate infrastructure as well. You're going to see megacities. I say usually because not always, right? New York is a megacity, right? The New York urban zone has well over 10 million people, but the infrastructure works pretty well. But for most megacities, you're going to see, on top of having 10 million people or more, a vast territorial extent, rapid in-migration, and you're going to see also the strained, inadequate infrastructure oftentimes as well. A newer term that we have just started using in the geography community, a newer term that we have just started using is also the term metacity. And a metacity would be a city with 20 million people or more, which is like a totally different set of issues altogether. Wow, 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 wow. So some examples of megacities. Mumbai, if you look at the screen here, you'll see several megacities identified. Mumbai is a great example of one. If we were to pull up, and if you will just allow me to pause, I should have had this up earlier since we were looking at this yesterday, but you have to forgive me. I'm going to pull it up again here. Just like in class, right? I want you to look at this chart we were looking at yesterday so we can kind of see these megacities and metacities. So you'll notice, as far as megacities are concerned in the world, looking at the latest table that we have, that there are currently 38 megacities in the world. Nagoya, Japan, rounding out 38. And then as far as metacities go, there are currently 11 cities in the world that have 20 million people or more. Mumbai is one of those metacities. Yeah, Mumbai has a population. Mumbai here is the sixth largest population in the world, over 23 million people. What does that mean? Mumbai has more people in the city of Mumbai. And I'll show you on Google Maps here just the city of Mumbai so you can kind of see its territorial extent here. Mumbai is a big city, but I mean, territorially speaking, it's not huge. It's fairly large. The Mumbai urban zone, zoom out a little bit more, kind of does this along the west coast here. Okay, if you kind of see the way I'm moving my mouse, this is the Mumbai urban zone. If I zoom way out, you're gonna get a better look at that, right? With the red pin. Okay, Mumbai, ladies and gentlemen, city of about 23 million people, has more people than the entire country of Australia, easily. Let that sink. Yeah, you got a population higher than the entire population of Australia, essentially packed into this. Wow. Okay. Um, Sao Paulo in Brazil. Let's go over to Sao Paulo. Another one of the world's mega cities. Sao Paulo, Brazil. Look at that territorial extent there. Yeah. Sao Paulo is massive. Sao Paulo, as a city, just area wise, is bigger than the country of Belgium, if you can imagine that. Wow. Jakarta in Indonesia, the largest city in the world for a long time without a subway system. They just got Jakarta. If you look back at this chart here, Jakarta is the second largest city in the world, over 34 million people. Jakarta just got its first subway line, March 24th, 2019. You talk about struggles with infrastructure. Wow, 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 wow. In many ways, megacities have more in common with one another than with smaller metro areas and cities within their own countries. I mean, I think that's becoming clear here now, isn't it? Cities like Bangkok, cities like, pull this back up here, like Mexico City, like Shanghai, like Dhaka in Bangladesh, Jakarta, Lagos, Manila, Sao Paulo. These are cities that have more inhabitants than 100 of the member countries of the United Nations. They are functioning as independent countries, really, on their own in a lot of ways. And most megacities don't function as world cities, or at least not as alpha world cities, but they do serve important intermediate roles between upper tiers of the system of world cities, and some of the smaller towns in large regions of the world. In a lot of ways, they kind of play a little bit of a semi-periphery role. In the past, most of the world's largest cities were in MDCs, but currently a greater number is found in less developed countries, right? And the spectacular growth in the cities of in the cities of less developed countries has had an enormous impact on both the environment and on the quality of life of millions of new immigrants who live in settlements on the edges of these centers. A great example of this is the city of Dhaka, in Bangladesh. Dhaka is a fascinating place. If you look back at this chart, Dhaka is on the verge of becoming a meta city. It's at 18.5 million people right now. But if you look at population densities, Dhaka is not only the fastest growing megacity in the world, but it is also the most densely populated one by far. If you're looking at these population densities, look at the population density here of Dhaka, Bangladesh. 106,300 people per square mile in Dhaka. That is the population of Athens, Georgia, the entire population of the city of Athens, into basically packed into square mile pieces. That's Dhaka. Wow, 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 wow. You got to kind of see it to believe it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to have you watch a video now dealing with Dhaka and its explosive growth and the issues that come along with that growth. What I want you to take notes on as you're watching this, because Dhaka is going to be a major case study here going forward, is the challenges that a city like Dhaka faces as the world's fastest growing mega city. So once you watch that, take note on some of the challenges. You are done and off for the weekend, and I wish you a good one.